I caught her with her boss and exposed them right in the middle of a speech in front of every investor they've been lying to for years. But it all started with a password-protected folder on our shared iPad. We looked like a power couple. That's what people said. Big city condo, sleek cars, rooftop parties, perfect teeth in every photo. Melanie Carter, 38, real estate agent, polished to a mirror shine. She had the kind of face that made people trust her instantly. Saleswoman by day, social chameleon by night. She lived for optics. Nothing mattered more to her than perception, the kind that made you look twice at a stranger and wonder what they knew that you didn't. I'm James, 40, IT consultant, quiet type. I don't do small talk. I don't chase attention. I work remote, wear hoodies, drink black coffee, and solve problems that rich people don't understand. She loved telling people I was the brains behind the curtain. I didn't mind it, until I realized she was using that curtain to hide a whole other life. It was a Sunday afternoon, one of those calm, sunny days that almost dares you to relax. Melanie was in the shower, singing softly to Billie Eilish, phone dead like always. She asked me to grab something off our iPad. I unlocked it, but instead of mail, my eye caught a folder on the home screen, labeled Q3 Reports, which was odd. We didn't name things like that. Her folders were usually labeled with emojis or exclamation points. Client stuff briefcase or open house pics. This one looked like something you'd send to a boardroom. I tapped it. Password protected. She'd used her usual, Safi 1985. Her childhood cat. 30 seconds later, I was inside, and my entire world started to rearrange itself. There were dozens of files. PDFs, screenshots, hotel bills, calendar invites, receipts from the Four Seasons, St. Regis, the Waldorf in Chicago. Every one of them listed the same two names, Victor Lang +1. Victor Lang, her boss, the same mentor she couldn't stop talking about, the one who saw her potential, the one she swore was like a father figure. That same father figure had booked a honeymoon suite with her in Napa last month, with champagne, with a note, for my favorite fire starter, burn me again. I scrolled faster. Emails, dozens of them, synced from her cloud. Private, intimate, explicit. Red dress again, and I swear I'll cancel the pitch just to get you naked faster. If your husband ever checks your calendar, we're screwed. You make me forget I have a wife. I felt the air change around me. This wasn't a fling. It was coordinated, hidden, polished. A full-blown affair dressed up as career success. And I had just stumbled onto the goddamn trailer to a movie I didn't know I was in. The door to the bathroom creaked open. She stepped out wrapped in a towel, steam curling around her like stage fog. Hair slicked back, glowing like she hadn't just gutted our marriage behind my back. She smiled when she saw me. "Can you believe how hot it is today?" she asked, stretching like a cat. I looked up from the iPad. Smiled back. "Yeah," I said. "It's burning." She gave me that look, the one where she's trying to read me, trying to decide if I'm being sarcastic or sweet. She didn't know yet that I knew. Didn't know she'd already lost. Because while she towel-dried her hair and planned her next business trip, I was already thinking 10 steps ahead. Not about how to confront her, about how to destroy them both. I told myself I needed confirmation. But really? I just wanted to hear someone say it out loud. That my wife was screwing her boss in a hotel suite while I was home, making sure our Wi-Fi stayed fast enough for her Zoom calls. The iPad was back on the kitchen counter, right where she left it. I hadn't touched it since that Sunday. But the files were burned into my memory. Receipts, room service bills, whispered emails that sounded more like sex than scheduling. Still, part of me needed proof. Not digital, not theoretical, something real. A voice, a tone, a mistake. So I waited for her to leave for work. She kissed me on the cheek like nothing was wrong. Smelled like Dior and deceit. "Long day ahead," she said, grabbing her keys. 2 back-to-back showings. Then a team dinner with Victor. I almost laughed. She said his name like I didn't already have screenshots of him unbuttoning her dress in a hotel elevator. "Sounds productive," I said. She winked. "Always is." And just like that, she was gone. The second the door clicked shut, I opened my laptop. Pulled up the latest hotel receipt from that Q3 folder. Ocean Heights Grand, San Francisco. Check-in, last Friday. Check-out, Sunday. Room, 1902. Honeymoon suite. Reservation name, Lang Victor. +1. I dialed the front desk. Hit record on my phone. My voice. Calm. Light. Professional. Hi. This is Rebecca with Carter and Lang Realty. I'm assisting Mr. Lang with his upcoming travel and just wanted to confirm his usual suite. The woman on the line didn't hesitate. Yes, Mr. Lang stays with us frequently. Would you like to repeat the last setup? I smiled into the phone. Exactly the same, please. Got it. Champagne on arrival, red roses in the room, extra towels, and the honeymoon suite for two. Honeymoon. For two. I stared at the ceiling as she kept talking. The fan spun overhead, lazy and indifferent. And would you like us to prepare the same room for next weekend, Mr. Lang? My pulse kicked. What do you mean next weekend? I asked, still keeping the tone friendly. The woman chuckled. Well, his assistant already booked it. Same room, same package. Under Melanie Carter's name this time. She asked for a late check-in, said she might arrive before Mr. Lang. A beat of silence. She must have sensed something shift in my voice. Is everything okay? Perfect, I said. Thank you. That's all I needed. I hung up, and for a moment, I just stared at my reflection in the black laptop screen. Not furious, not broken, just cold. They had a system, a routine. She didn't even bother hiding it anymore. Just changed the reservation to her name like I'd never notice. They were planning another weekend together. Another lie. Another suite. More champagne. More betrayal. I looked around the apartment. The coffee machine I installed for her birthday. The painting she picked out from some overpriced art fair. The blanket on the couch that still smelled like her. None of it felt like mine anymore. I was living in a stranger's fantasy. A set piece. A stage. And the actors were about to realize the audience was watching. Because now I knew when. Where. Who. All I needed was the why. And the best way to get that? Let her lie to me again. Give her rope. Watch her hang herself with it. She said she was going to a conference. Smiled like it was just another business trip. I smiled back, while slipping a GPS tracker into her favorite designer bag. She was standing in front of the full-length mirror, turning slightly to admire the way her black blazer hugged her waist. Underneath, that crimson silk blouse, the one she saved for high-stakes meetings. I used to love watching her get ready. The little rituals, the soft hums, that spray of perfume behind each ear. But now it all felt like theater. And I was in the audience, finally noticing the wires holding up the props. This conference in Monterey, I said casually from the doorway. What's it about again? She didn't even blink. Emerging real estate markets. Kind of boring, honestly. She smirked. Networking stuff? Panels. You'd hate it. Oh, I don't know, I said. Free hotel room. Ocean view. Sounds tolerable. She laughed. Too hard, too fast. Trust me, it's all spreadsheets and overpriced salads. She zipped up her carry-on. That's when I made my move. Her overnight tote, a black Saint Laurent she guarded like a limb, was open on the bed. I slid the tracker into the inside pocket beneath her makeup bag. It was the size of a USB drive, disguised as a branded keychain. She wouldn't feel it. She wouldn't even think to look. Need help with anything? I asked, stepping back as she lifted the bag. Nope, she said, breezing past me toward the door. You sure you'll survive 2 nights without me? I forced a grin. Barely. She kissed me, soft, brief, and whispered, Love you. I said it back, and meant none of it, because I knew exactly where she was going, who she was meeting, what they were going to do in that room with the roses and the champagne and the do not disturb sign. Still, I watched from the window as the Uber pulled away, watched her silhouette disappear behind tinted glass. And then I turned to my laptop, opened the tracking software, and watched the blinking red dot move steadily south. She wasn't even out of the city before my screen lit up with her phone syncing. I'd installed a background process weeks ago, masked beneath a photo editor app she used once for a listing. Her messages, her emails, even her location history. All mine now. The phone pinged. New message. From Victor Lang. Can't wait to unwrap you tonight. We're the red. I'll bring the bourbon. Red. Same blouse she was wearing when she walked out of our home. I closed the laptop. My hands were steady. My heart wasn't. She wasn't just cheating. She was choreographing it. Outfits. Drinks. Pacing. Timing. This was muscle memory for her now. And I was done pretending to be the clueless husband. Done playing support while she danced her way up the corporate ladder on someone else's hotel pillow. I sat in the quiet, lit only by the blinking dot of her betrayal. And I whispered, let's see how far this show goes. I thought the receipts were bad. But then I saw the video, him kissing her neck in the hotel lobby while she giggled and slid her hands under his shirt. Just business, she told me. Then why were her fingers unbuttoning his pants? The software I used is the kind no one talks about. It doesn't show up on your screen. Doesn't need permissions. It just listens. Melanie's phone was feeding me everything, in real time. Messages, location, even microphone access when she opened her camera app. I didn't need to be there. I was already there. She'd just arrived. Ocean Heights Grand, room 1902. Honeymoon suite, same as last time. The GPS pin hadn't moved in 30 minutes. Neither had her heart rate, according to the synced fitness band on her wrist. She was calm, relaxed, probably had a glass of wine in hand. That's when I logged into the hotel's internal network. Basic security flaw, unsecured API endpoint in their mobile check-in system. Amateurs. 5 minutes later, I had camera access to the lobby feed. I rewound, slowed the footage. There she was, Melanie, in that red blouse, hair loose, heels clicking across the marble floor like a runway model who knew the cameras were watching. But it wasn't the strut that got me. It was how she looked around before stepping into the frame fully. Like she knew, like part of her wanted to be seen. And then he appeared. Victor Lang. Silver hair, navy suit, smug as sin. His hand found the small of her back like it had every right to be there. She didn't flinch, didn't look around. She leaned into it. He said something. She laughed. Then, right there, under the chandelier, he kissed her neck. Long, slow, possessive. Her hands moved up his chest, over his thigh, down his torso. I paused the video. Her fingers were inside his suit jacket, right where the mic clipped for her conference panels. This wasn't foreplay. It was a routine, a performance they'd rehearsed a dozen times before. I stared at the frame. Her face tilted back, eyes closed, lips parted. And I felt nothing. No rage. No heartbreak. Just silence. Like the soundproof hush right before a sniper takes the shot. They walked to the elevator arm in arm. He pressed the button. She rested her head on his shoulder. The doors closed, and I knew they wouldn't open again for a long time. Later that night, she texted me. Long day. Keynote went well. Exhausted. I'll call in the morning. Love you. I stared at those 3 words. Love you. Like they were written in blood. Because while she sent that message, she was probably lying naked beside Victor Lang, wearing that just business smile of hers. And if this was just business, then I was about to take it very personal. They thought they were building an empire. What they didn't know was that I'd already started burning the foundation. Monday morning, she came back smelling like hotel soap and excuses. I was at the kitchen counter, pretending to scroll through news. She kissed me on the cheek. I didn't flinch. How was Monterey? I asked. She yawned dramatically. Long panels went over. Victor was exhausted. Poor guy looked like he was going to collapse. I nodded. Didn't ask why she hadn't called. Didn't ask why her blouse smelled faintly of bourbon, not sea breeze. She poured herself a green juice like nothing had changed. I wanted to reach across the counter and smash the glass. Instead, I smiled. Because what she didn't know was that I had spent the weekend doing research. Not on her. Not anymore. Now it was him. Victor Lang, 52, founder and CEO of Lang and Everhart Commercial Realty. Silver Fox type. Rich, respected, married. Loved to use words like synergy and legacy. He'd built his brand on being trustworthy. The clean money guy in a dirty money world. People liked him because he smiled when he stabbed you. And now? Now he was planning a massive fundraiser. A gala. To raise capital for their new real estate investment platform. Big money. Big crowd. Investors. Clients. Press. Public. I could feel the opportunity unfolding like blueprints. If Melanie was his most trusted employee, as she claimed, she'd be there too. Dressed to the nines. Working the room. Smiling like betrayal looked good in heels. So I started building something of my own. Not revenge. A performance. I created a fake investor profile, Jonathan Steele. Private equity. Silent partner. Miami-based. Net worth, $14 million. I bought the domain. Registered a Shell LLC in Delaware. Created a convincing LinkedIn profile with connections to other real estate execs I knew from IT work. Then I reached out to Lang and Everhart's investor relations team. Dear Ms. Paulson, I came across your upcoming fundraiser through a contact at Meridian. Very interested in your new platform. I may be looking to diversify capital this quarter. Please let me know if there's still room at the event. Best, Jonathan Steele. They responded within an hour. We'd be honored to have you, Mr. Steele. I'll personally forward your credentials to Mr. Lang. Cocktail attire. 7 p.m. Valet available. Just like that, I was in. No background checks. No phone call. Just the scent of money, and they opened the doors wide. Melanie was working late that night, again. Said they were finalizing logistics for the gala. Said she was swamped. I nodded. Don't overdo it, I told her. Wouldn't want your boss to collapse again. She froze mid-sip. Excuse me. I just smiled and went back to my laptop. Inside, I was already calculating frame rates, video timing, and audio sync. Because if they were going to lie in front of a room full of investors, I was going to correct the narrative. Live. She was 10 feet away, laughing with investors in a backless gown. Hair pinned, diamonds flashing, lies flowing like champagne. I watched her from the bar, and she didn't even recognize me. I'd been in the ballroom for 12 minutes. Long enough to scan exits, spot the AV booth, and count 3 cameras recording the stage. The place looked like a magazine spread. All black suits and glittering gowns, $30,000 watches shaking hands over $3,000 cocktails. Lang and Everhart knew how to dress up greed. The air buzzed with networking desperation. Everyone smiling a little too hard, laughing a little too loud. That's when I saw her. Melanie. Goddamn. Red dress again. Not the same blouse, not some casual callback. A full-length silk gown, slid up the thigh, daring the room to doubt her. Her hair was twisted up in some elegant, expensive knot. Neckline dipped low. The diamond bracelet I bought her for our anniversary clung to her wrist like a punchline. She wasn't my wife tonight. She was his date, his showpiece, his prize. I stayed at the far end of the bar, swirling a whiskey I had no intention of drinking. They didn't recognize me, because Jonathan Steele wasn't some IT guy in a hoodie. He was tailored in a charcoal suit, with polished shoes and slicked back hair. New glasses, clean shave, the kind of man Victor Lang would want in his inner circle. And that's exactly what I gave them. Melanie was holding court by the silent auction table, one hand on Victor's elbow, the other gesturing to a group of gray-haired men like she was pitching heaven. Her smile never broke. But I saw it. That flicker of tension in her jaw when someone mentioned due diligence. Victor laughed and kissed her temple. She beamed like it meant something. It didn't. Not tonight. A waiter passed with flutes of champagne. I took one, then circled the room. The stage was set in front of a massive screen. LED wall, top of the line, connected directly to the AV booth tucked behind velvet rope. I made my move during the jazz quartet's second set, slipped behind the curtain, flashed a fake investor experience badge, and leaned in to the young tech running visuals. Evening, I said, keeping it casual. Jonathan Steele, one of the featured partners. I've got a personal intro video. CEO asked that it run mid-speech. Should be about 2 minutes. The kid barely looked up, just nodded. Thumb drive. I handed it to him. Play it exactly when I give the signal, I said. He nodded again. Got it. Simple as that. Back at the bar, I watched Victor ascend the stage. Melanie followed, heels clicking across polished wood, all eyes on her. She stood just behind him, smiling like a queen. Victor adjusted his mic. Ladies and gentlemen. He began, smooth as silk. Tonight isn't about capital. It's about trust, about vision, about building something that lasts. Melanie nodded behind him, like a backup dancer to his sermon. We've built Lang and Everhart on transparency, he continued. On relationships. I raised my glass, met the tech's eyes, and lifted 2 fingers. The screen flickered once, then all hell broke loose. Emails, receipts, hotel footage. My wife's voice whispering things I can't unhear. Their truth unraveled in real time, in front of every person they'd ever lied to. 2 fingers. That's all it took. The AV tech hit play. At first, the screen behind Victor just glitched, a flicker like a cable signal struggling to hold. He didn't notice. Too busy delivering his gospel. We pride ourselves on integrity, on building trust. The screen cut to black. And then came the first slide. Subject, can't wait to unwrap you tonight. From Victor Lang. To Melanie Carter. The audience murmured. A few chuckles, people thinking it was some edgy intro video. Then the next email hit. Subject, did you tell your husband yet? Or are we still playing house? Victor paused mid-sentence. What the hell? He muttered, turning toward the screen. Another slide. This time, a hotel bill. Ocean Heights Grand. Honeymoon suite. Champagne service for two. Name on the reservation. Lang, Victor plus Melanie Carter. The room got quiet. Too quiet. Then came the photos. Grainy but clear. The lobby cam. Victor kissing her neck. Melanie's hands under his shirt. Someone gasped. Melanie stepped forward, eyes wide, lips moving, no sound. Then the video hit. Lobby footage. Her laugh. His voice saying, "You're gonna get me killed." Her whisper back, "Then die happy." A woman in the crowd stood up, tall, elegant, dressed in black. Her voice cut through the silence like glass. "That's my husband. Victor's wife." She threw her champagne glass. It missed, shattered near the mic stand. Victor stepped back like someone had shot at him. Melanie turned white. Her hands trembled. I kept sipping my drink, calm as ever, watching it all collapse. Then came the audio clip. I saved it for last. Melanie's voice, soft, sultry, clear. "I wish James wasn't in the picture. Sometimes I wish I'd never married him. It'd be easier to just stay with you." I watched her on stage, frozen, shattered, trying to breathe through humiliation. Victor shouted something off mic, trying to claim it was fake. Deep fakes. Blackmail. Anything. The room didn't buy it. Phones were out. People were filming. Some were walking out. Others just stared, hungry for more. The AV tech looked over at me, wide-eyed. I nodded once. He killed the video. Melanie turned, blinking into the stage lights like a deer about to get hit by a semi-truck. Her mic fell to the floor with a hollow thud. Victor looked like he might vomit. And that's when I walked toward the stage. Slow, calm, calculated, like I'd been waiting for this moment all my life. I walked up the steps, calm as winter. Victor was sweating through his $1,000 suit. Melanie looked like she couldn't remember how to breathe. I took the mic, lifted my glass, and said, "To truth, the one thing you can't fake." Silence. That kind of silence that sucks all the air out of a room. I stood center stage, the spotlight hitting me full force, illuminating every detail. The suit, the slick back hair, the man they thought they knew. Victor stared at me like he was seeing a ghost. "Melanie?" She mouthed one word. "James?" Her voice didn't work. I raised my champagne flute, held it in the air like it was a loaded weapon. "Ladies and gentlemen," I said, my voice steady through the mic. "I apologize for the interruption." A nervous laugh rippled through the room. The kind people use when they're unsure whether they're witnessing brilliance or a breakdown. I continued, eyes locked on the crowd. "My name is James Carter. I'm an IT consultant. And up until about an hour ago, I was also the husband of your keynote speaker, Melanie Carter." The gasp that followed wasn't polite. It was raw, collective. Like a whole room just found out they were complicit in something filthy. Victor tried to speak. "This is..." I held up a hand. "Please, don't interrupt. You've had the floor long enough." He froze. "Melanie?" She took a step forward, maybe thinking she could stop it. I looked at her, really looked, and said, "Sit down, Melanie." She did. People around the room were filming now. Investors, reporters, staff. Probably half of them had already texted the footage to someone important. "Transparency," I said, pacing slowly. "That's what Victor Lang claims to build his empire on. That's what you all came here to celebrate tonight." I turned to the screen. A still image of Victor holding Melanie in a hotel room glowed behind me like a biblical warning. But transparency starts with truth. And the truth is, this company, this man, this woman, they've all been lying to you. I pointed to the crowd. "To your faces. With your money." Melanie was crying now. Silent, mascara-streaked tears. "Victor?" He looked like he aged 10 years in 10 minutes. "The documents you saw tonight? Those are real. Verified. Hotel receipts. Emails. Footage from secured servers. And every timestamp lines up with corporate travel they claimed was for your benefit." I paused. "Let it land. Your capital funded their affair. Their getaways. Their games." A man in the front row, older, Rolex flashing, stood up. "I invested $5 million last quarter," he said coldly. Another voice behind him. "Same here." Victor stepped forward again, voice cracking. "This isn't what it looks like." I turned to him. "Victor, stop. I know your voice. I know how it sounds when you beg my wife to wear red." The crowd erupted. Laughter. Shouts. Some gasps. One woman actually clapped. Melanie's face had gone completely still, not shocked, not angry, just gone. Like whatever was left inside her had quietly exited through the back door. I held up my glass one final time. And so, I said, to everyone in this room who values honesty, who came here expecting clarity, I offer a toast. I turned slightly, looked Melanie right in the eyes. To truth, the one thing you can't fake. And then I drank. Drained the glass. The room stayed silent. Until Victor's wife, standing in the corner, arms crossed, muttered loud enough for everyone to hear. Get a divorce lawyer, Melanie. The screen flickered behind them. Then came the emails. The hotel footage. Her voice. His laugh. The sounds they made in bed. It wasn't just a scandal anymore. It was a public execution, and I was the one pulling the trigger. The toast was done. The glass hit the podium with a soft clink, like a period at the end of a death sentence. Then I nodded once toward the AV booth. And the real show began. The screen behind Victor and Melanie lit up again, not with slides or branding, but with evidence. This wasn't just a leak. This was orchestration. Slide 1. Subject: Your husband's too soft to know what you need. From Victor Lang. To Melanie Carter. Slide 2. Calendar invites. Client meeting blocked off for Napa. Matched against the hotel invoice. Honeymoon suite. $1,475 a night. Slide 3. Room service bill. 2 entrees. 1 bottle of Dom Perignon. Note left for housekeeping. Don't knock until 10. Late checkout. Winky face. Gasps filled the room. But I wasn't done. The next part was timed perfectly. Hotel lobby footage. Victor with his hand on her ass, pulling her close like no one in the world could touch them. Her face tilted up, eyes shut, smiling like sin wrapped in satin. The room grew quieter with each frame, until the sound kicked in. I had cleaned the audio, isolated their voices from the background noise. Melanie, you make me feel dangerous. Victor, then be dangerous. Let him go. Melanie, laughing, he still thinks I'm at a conference. A woman in the audience dropped her wine glass. It shattered on the marble. No one flinched. And then, God help her, came the bedroom audio. I hadn't meant to include it at first, but she forced my hand. Victor, you're mine now. Melanie, say it again. Victor, you're mine. Melanie, only yours. The screen faded to black, and one final message appeared in white letters. Trust is earned. Betrayal is expensive. For a full 5 seconds, no one moved. Then, Victor's wife screamed. Not a cry, not a whimper. A full, guttural, betrayed scream that tore through the acoustics and made the chandelier vibrate. She picked up her clutch and threw it. Hit Victor square in the chest. You bastard, she shouted. In front of everyone. You brought me here. Victor tried to speak. Alyssa, I can expel. No, she said, voice suddenly quiet. You're done. I want everything. Then she turned to Melanie, took 2 slow steps toward her, and spit. Dead center. Right in her face. Gasps. Phone's recording. Some people cheering now. Melanie didn't move. Didn't flinch. Just stood there, dripping betrayal down her chin. Victor looked around the room like he was just now realizing it was real. That he was no longer the man in charge. He was just the guy caught with his pants down and his ego crushed under the weight of $1 million lie. He grabbed the mic. This is all fake. AI. Deep fakes. Lies. It's illegal. I stepped forward again. Took the mic back. I work in IT, I said, looking straight at him. I don't do fake. The crowd erupted. Cheers. Applause. Laughter. The kind that said, you played us. He played you. And now we're watching the credits roll. Melanie stepped off the stage, shoes clicking against the floor like she was walking into her own funeral. Victor's wife followed close behind, calling her every name in the book. Security moved in. The gala was over. But my part? My part was just getting started. The morning after was quiet. Not peaceful, just hollow. Like the world had stopped moving for a second to let the fallout catch up. She didn't come home. Not that night. Not the next morning. I didn't text her. I didn't need to. I already knew where she was. Either with Victor, trying to put out fires, or somewhere alone, watching her reputation crumble in real time. My phone had blown up overnight. First, the media. Then private numbers I didn't recognize. Reporters, former co-workers, concerned friends, suddenly curious. And then finally, the only one I wanted. A text from her. 1:43 a.m. James, please. We need to talk. I didn't reply. Instead, I scrolled through LinkedIn. Lang and Everhart's page had already gone quiet. No updates. No posts. No crisis control yet. I refreshed. Melanie's profile was still active. Her title still listed as Senior Client Strategist. I knew that wouldn't last. At 10:17 a.m., it happened. Her name disappeared from the company page. Then her personal page changed. Status: former real estate executive. No goodbye message. No soft rebrand. Just gone. I flipped on the TV. Channel 8 had picked up the story. Not the whole thing, just enough. Scandal at real estate gala. Affair between CEO and employee sparks investor backlash. No names yet. But the comments section? Brutal. People speculated. People knew. A photo leaked from the gala. Melanie frozen on stage. Her face a painting of panic. Victor mid-reach, like he was trying to stop a ship already halfway underwater. Someone posted the full video to Reddit. Then YouTube. Then TikTok. Millions of views in hours. One user wrote, "Bro just gave a TED talk in the middle of a divorce." Another, "Never cheat on an IT guy. Ever." I should have felt victorious. I didn't. I felt still. Like my body hadn't caught up to what I'd done. I didn't go to work. Didn't eat. Just sat there, watching the house glow with that weird, too clean light that comes after a storm. At noon, the doorbell rang. I didn't answer. Whoever it was left a small box on the porch. I waited 15 minutes before opening it. Inside, her bracelet. The one I gave her on our anniversary. No note. No explanation. Just the bracelet, still shining. Like she thought this was some kind of gesture. Like that tiny glittering circle could make a dent in what she'd broken. I tossed it into the kitchen drawer. Left it to rot next to the batteries and bottle openers and pieces of our old life. That afternoon, the silence broke again. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. I almost ignored it. Then I saw the message. That was legendary. We should talk. Attached was a contact card. Thomas Neal, Managing Partner, Aegis Capital Cybersecurity Division. I stared at it. Then again at the TV, where Victor Lang's name was now trending next to words like fraud and SEC inquiry. And I thought, maybe this wasn't just revenge. Maybe this was the beginning. They built a house of glass. I threw the first stone. Now I'm standing in the rubble. And somehow, I'm the only one not bleeding. Melanie was officially fired by noon. Not laid off. Not asked to resign. Fired. Lang and Everhart released a boilerplate statement. The company maintains a strict code of conduct. We are committed to upholding the highest standards of ethics and professionalism. No apology. No names. Just enough to distance themselves from the wreckage. Victor Lang? He went quiet for 36 hours. Then the dam broke. His wife filed for divorce. Irreconcilable differences. Gross misconduct. Emotional abuse. The usual terms. But this time, the evidence was already viral. The press called it the gala bloodbath. Twitter called it #RedDressRevenge. Melanie tried to play it down. She posted a long-winded, half-hearted reflection on social media. Something about lessons learned and deep regret. The comments section lit her on fire. You regret getting caught. Should have worn black. More appropriate for a funeral. Shout out to James. Legend. Her reputation wasn't just damaged. It was disintegrated. Clients pulled listings. Co-workers unfollowed. Friends stopped tagging her in photos. She'd been cut out of the social scene like dead weight. Victor tried to weather it. But investors weren't just angry. They were furious. I watched it unfold like a spectator at a slow-motion demolition. Lawsuits. Demands for reimbursement. One firm filed for breach of fiduciary duty, claiming the affair compromised company integrity and exposed clients to reputational risk. Someone leaked internal messages. Victor talking about prioritizing relationships over red tape, defending Melanie's lavish travel expenses. They ate him alive. Lang and Everhart's valuation plummeted by $27 million in a week. And I was still quiet, still watching, until I finally replied to that message from Aegis Capital. The guy, Thomas Neal, picked up on the first ring. You just humiliated a CEO mid-fundraiser, he said. That took balls. And planning. Thanks, I said. Both are in limited supply these days. He laughed. What if I told you we could use a guy like you? I said nothing. He continued. We run digital audits, private surveillance, high-end breach containment. But what we really do is expose people quietly. And you're offering me what, exactly? A job, a contract, a way to get paid for the chaos you just pulled off. You like pulling strings, James. Why not do it legally? I didn't answer right away, because part of me knew, once I stepped through that door, there was no going back. But then I looked around, at the house she lied in, at the couch where she pretended to be tired after long meetings, at the wine rack she stocked with Victor's favorite bottle. And I said, send me the details. He did. While Melanie was begging for LinkedIn endorsements and Victor was paying lawyers $900 an hour to dig him out of a PR grave, I was looking at a six-figure offer. All because I paid attention. All because I didn't scream. I calculated. I executed. I watched them burn. She looked like a ghost of the woman who walked out of my life in heels and designer perfume. Now she stood on my doorstep in a hoodie and smeared eyeliner, whispering, please, like it still meant something. I almost didn't open the door. Not out of spite. Out of peace. But curiosity is a bastard. So I opened it. Melanie flinched when she saw me. Like even my face hurt now. She looked like hell. And not the kind you clean up from. Hair pulled back in a limp ponytail. Hoodie 3 sizes too big. No makeup, no jewelry. Just 2 hands gripping her phone like a lifeline that had already snapped. Can we talk? She asked, voice soft. Raw. I stepped aside. Not out of kindness. Out of control. I wanted her to see what it felt like, to step back into a home she used to rule, only to realize the kingdom didn't belong to her anymore. She sat on the couch, same spot where she used to take Zoom calls, where she laughed at Victor's texts and called him V, like it was some inside joke. Now she looked like she was sitting in a courtroom. I know you probably hate me, she said. I didn't respond. I lost everything, she whispered. My job, my reputation, my friends won't even return my calls. Sounds like a tough week, I said flat. She winced. You don't have to be cruel. I sat across from her, arms crossed. You cheated on me, lied to me, used our shared accounts to fund a months-long affair with your married boss. And I'm being cruel? Tears welled up, but I'd seen them before. Hell, she probably practiced them in a mirror. I messed up. I know I did. But I was scared. Of what? Of settling, she said. Of getting comfortable. Of waking up one day and realizing I didn't want this life. I laughed, cold and sharp. You didn't just wake up, Melanie. You planned it. You reserved it. You ordered champagne for it. Her voice cracked. It wasn't supposed to go this far. Victor said it would be discreet. I raised an eyebrow. Victor also said he'd leave his wife. How's that working out for you? She went quiet. I came here, she said, because I didn't know where else to go. I leaned forward, voice low. Let me guess. Investors stopped returning your emails. Victor's wife froze his accounts. And the only person left is the husband you publicly humiliated in front of everyone who ever mattered to you. She nodded slowly. I deserve that. No, I said. You deserve worse. But I'm not here for revenge anymore. She blinked. I got an offer, I said. Cybersecurity firm. Real money. Real work. They saw what I did to you and Victor and called it flawless. She stared. They called your destruction a resume. Her bottom lip trembled. I'm leaving, I said. New job. New city. Fresh start. What about us? She asked, barely audible. There is no us. There's just you. And the echo of every lie you ever told. She stood up slowly. Do you still love me? That was the moment. The moment she hoped I'd flinch. Break. Soften. I didn't. No, I said. I just remember loving you. There's a difference. She walked to the door. Paused. I'm sorry, she whispered. I know, I said. That's why I'm not slamming the door. But I'm not leaving it open, either. She stepped outside. I closed the door gently. And locked it. She thought her tears would buy her a second chance. What she didn't know was that I'd already packaged her voice, her guilt, and her favorite perfume, and sent it straight to the one person more furious than me. I waited a full day before sending the package. Not because I had doubts. Because I wanted it to land at just the right moment, when Victor's wife was home, when she was raw, when she was ready to hear the last nail slam into the coffin of the life she thought she had. The recording was short, just a few minutes. I'd edited it down to the essentials. I messed up. I was scared. It wasn't supposed to go this far. Victor said it would be discreet. I didn't know where else to go. Do you still love me? I'm sorry. Each line soaked in guilt. Each syllable a bullet. The perfume bottle went in last. The same one Melanie used every time she came back from her business trips. Chanel No. 5. Classic. Unapologetic. Now, it smelled like betrayal. I boxed it. No return address. Just a note inside. You deserve to know how she begged to come back. After everything. Thought you'd appreciate the full story. The tracking confirmation came 2 days later. Delivered. She didn't reply, but I didn't need her to. Victor was seen leaving their home that night with a suitcase and a face like someone had put a knife through his image. Perfect. Melanie texted again the next morning. Why would you send that to her? I didn't respond. She called, twice. I let it ring. Then she sent one last message. You win. But this was never about winning. Not really. It was about remembering. Letting her know I'd never forget the way she smiled through her lies. Letting him know that mentorship has a cost when it comes with unbuttoned shirts and hotel keys. The next time I saw her wasn't in person. It was online. A Rebuilding After Loss podcast episode she did, teary-eyed and filtered, trying to twist the narrative into redemption. I didn't listen. Didn't need to. Some betrayals don't get to be rewritten. Some lies don't deserve airtime. I was already gone. Apartment empty. New keys in my pocket. My name on a different door. Her voice would follow me for a while. I knew that. But only as a scar, not a wound. The house was too quiet at first. No heels on hardwood. No perfume in the air. Just silence, heavy and unfamiliar. But over time, silence stopped feeling like grief and started feeling like peace. I left everything behind. The condo. The furniture. The bed she used to lie in after fucking him in a hotel. Sold it all. Packed what mattered into 4 boxes and the server tower I built by hand. Moved into a smaller place. Clean. Modern. No memories in the walls. Started sleeping through the night again. Aegis Capital sent over the final contract. Big salary. Bigger projects. They wanted me for high net worth digital security, risk prevention, for people with too many secrets and too much to lose. Irony, really. I used to protect one liar. Now I get paid to spot the next one. First week on the job, I audited a hedge fund CEO who was laundering money through wellness retreats in Bali. The guy folded in 2 days. Second week, I flagged a wellness influencer embezzling from her own charity. Every time I watched another mask drop, I thought of Melanie. How confident she was. How good she got at lying. I see her now in every client I investigate. Every fake smile. Every digital trail that doesn't quite match the story. And it's funny, I don't feel broken anymore. I feel prepared. I redecorated. Got rid of everything she touched. No more red wine glasses. No more fake orchids. No more we in the design. Just me. And it felt clean. Clear. Like wiping a hard drive and hearing it hum again for the first time. Then, 3 weeks into the new life, it arrived. A white envelope with gold trim. Handwritten. No return address. I opened it slowly. Inside, you are cordially invited to the wedding of Alyssa Lang and Christopher Voss. Victor's ex-wife. Remarried. Not just that, she was thriving. She didn't slink away in shame. She didn't drown in it like Melanie. She flipped the script. Built something new. Something better. I stared at the invitation for a long time. Then I checked the address. Same hotel I exposed them in. Ocean Heights Grand. Ballroom A. That couldn't be a coincidence. There was a note attached, handwritten in perfect cursive. You gave me the truth. The least I can do is offer you a seat. I smirked. Not because I was planning to go, but because it meant something. She wasn't just forgiving. She was celebrating. She'd taken the ruins of her marriage and built something solid enough to send engraved invitations from. That's how you reclaim a narrative. Not by posting your heartbreak. Not by begging for second chances. But by walking back into the same room they broke you in and owning every inch of it. I didn't RSVP right away, but I poured myself a drink that night. Sat on the balcony, watched the city breathe, and whispered, "Good for you. Weddings are strange things. Joy wrapped in tension. Smiles hiding history. And in this one, where the groom once held divorce papers and the bride once threw champagne at a stage, I knew one thing for sure. The past wasn't finished with us yet. Ocean Heights Grand. Same polished floors. Same crystal chandeliers. Same ballroom where I torched my marriage in front of 200 witnesses. Now it was dressed in white. Florals. Strings playing something classical. Guests sipping champagne without knowing the ghosts this place held. I walked in alone. No +1. No agenda. Just the invitation in my pocket and a speech in my jacket. One I hadn't planned to use, but brought anyway. Alyssa spotted me across the room. Her smile was real, not forced, not networking polite, just warm. She walked over in a simple, stunning dress. Hair swept back. No diamonds. No veil. Just grace. "James," she said, voice low. "I didn't think you'd come." "I wasn't sure I would," I replied. She looked around. "Everything all right?" I nodded. "Just strange. Being back here." "I know." She looked up at the stage where Victor once stood. "But I wanted to reclaim it. I didn't want this place to belong to the worst night of my life." I understood that. Deeply. The ceremony was brief. Beautiful. No grand declarations. No fake perfection. Just vows that sounded like they'd been lived in already. I almost forgot the photo. Until the reception. Until I saw her. Melanie. Standing near the back wall. Dressed in black, like mourning her own relevance. Hair down. Eyes hollow. No invite. Of course not. She wasn't here for the couple. She was here for me. I approached her slowly. "Not your crowd," I said. She didn't look surprised. "I got the picture," I added. "Creepy touch, by the way. I just wanted you to know I'd be here," she said. "To see you. To see how it ends." "This isn't the end," I said. "It's the clean beginning you were too scared to earn." She opened her mouth. To argue. To cry. To plead. I'll never know. Because the mic clicked on. The best man gave a short toast. Then Alyssa took the stage. And then she handed me the mic. I hadn't planned to speak. But something pulled me up there. Maybe it was closure. Maybe it was something colder. I stood in the same spot Victor had once occupied. Same lights. Same eyes. Same room. But now my story. I lifted my glass. 2 years ago, this room held secrets. A murmur. A lie lived here. A performance. A betrayal. I looked toward the back. Melanie stood still. But tonight, this room is different. It's not about lies anymore. It's about truth. About surviving the things that tried to break you. I raised the glass higher. To Alyssa, for proving that the past doesn't get the last word. People clapped. Real applause. And I finished. To truth. The best disinfectant. I drank. Melanie disappeared before dessert. No one noticed. No one cared. She was no longer the climax of the story. Just a footnote in the credits. I left the wedding with no souvenirs. No photos. Just peace. The rarest kind, the kind you earn. And I walked out of that hotel for the last time, knowing I didn't need revenge anymore. I had the truth. And I made sure the world saw it.